hotel
Yeah,
in San
we
Francisco.
spent a night at the Mark Hopkins. I have a picture of us at the lounge, which is on the top floor, I think overlooking all of San Francisco. And then I think we stopped at maybe, maybe it was Guam. Oh, well, we stopped at Hawaii, and I have a picture of the garden at the Hawaii airport, which is the Chiang Kai-shek garden,
Wow.
and it's still there.
Mhm.
And then we went on to, I think maybe Guam, or anyway, the next stop was Shanghai. And there, we just wandered around the streets before we went up to Changchun.
Mhm.
Changchun was the Japanese Manchukuo capital.
Mhm.
Still,
Now, Sam Foster was.
he was my companion, my friend. We got to know each other pretty much on the plane on the trip out. And then
He was trained with you, though? Trained, so to speak.
I'm not sure. I don't remember him so much in training, but on the way out, we wandered around Shanghai together,
Mhm.
and then went up to Changchun. And
Shanghai was it? It was fairly intact, right? It wasn't like.
well, at that time, it had been bombed by the Japanese,
On their.
but not extent.
No.
I mean, the main part of town, the business district, the hotels, the customs house, the Bund, with Bund being the avenue or boulevard along the waterfront, were all, they'd either been saved or restored.
Mhm.
And that's about all I remember. And then in Changchun, many buildings had been destroyed because the Soviets had come in, presumably to fight the Japanese, but they came in really right at the end of the war. And then they just hauled away all the machinery they could get their hands on,
Mhm.
and all of the Japanese army that they could get their hands on,
Mhm.
hauled them away to Siberia. So when we got there, there were mostly the two nationalist armies, part of the new First Army under General Sun Li Rin, I think it was, and the Sixth Army under General Liu, I guess it was, I'm not sure.
Now, was the Russian General Malenkov still there?
No, he'd gone
I
when
see.
we got there.
So the Russians came in and left.
They came in, they took the Japanese away, they established their headquarters, and then they left.
And they just vacated the headquarters,
Yeah.
which the Chinese must have taken over.
Well, I guess it was the nationalist Chinese that took over at that time.
Mhm.
But it was the time when General Marshall was trying to negotiate a peace settlement between Mao Zedong and Chiang Kai-shek.
Mhm.
So it was a truce, period of truce. There was no fighting.
Now, you showed us pictures of monuments that these constructivist monuments that the Soviets built, which were basically like these plinths, these bases
in Changchun there was a tall tower with a plane on top, and in Mukden there was a tall tower with a tank on top. These were both right in front of the railroad stations in the respective towns. So those are the main things that the Soviets did.
That's remarkable, though, isn't it? Well, I guess I shouldn't use that word with Robert's advice there, but that they had the time to actually go and build monuments to themselves.
Yeah, well, they had plenty of time to haul away machinery and things. They stripped factories. And during that time, I guess they also, as you say, built monuments to themselves.
So the Soviets were right after VJ Day, they declared war on Japan, 1945, and just in the few months that you were training and getting ready to go out to Manchuria, the Soviets had come in, had done these things and had gone out.
Right.
I see. Now,
the only Soviets we met were members of the so-called Soviet club or social society or whatever they called it, which included people who were officially there as Soviets, representing the Soviet government, and a few, only one I met, but there were probably others who were descendants of the Tsarists or the landed gentry who had thrived under the Tsar and then fled, I guess, after the Communist Revolution.
that multilingual gentleman that you had described previously.
Peter Tolkachev was the one I knew.
You know,
But he lived with Skorupski, who was the Soviet. I mean, they shared, they had taken over rooms and converted part of it to rooms of the Japanese department store. It was one of the Tokyo or Japan, mainland Japanese department store chains. I forget whether it was Sogo or Mitsukoshi or what it was, but it was one of them. And
they were living in a abandoned department store.
They had their own little apartments in this department store.
Now, maybe you could tell the story, which in I think in your children's mind, your adult children now, has become a kind of a fable, legend of sorts. The story that again, and I guess this would have been previous to your arrival, that your to-be wife, our mother, had actually worked at General Yamashita's headquarters.
I did not speak Japanese, and Sonoya didn't speak English. So between a few words of Japanese and a few words of English, a couple of words of Chinese, I figured out that she had gone to Manchuria at the suggestion of an aunt. And I never could identify whether the aunt was in Manchuria or in Tokyo or where she was. But so instead of working in a munitions factory in Japan, which she would have had to do, it was compulsory, she went to Manchuria, and she had a typing school in Japan. She actually knew how to operate the Japanese kanji typewriter, kanji and katakana. And so she qualified as a secretary, and I understood that she worked for General Yamashita in the Kwantung Army headquarters in Changchun. And then after the Soviets took over, most of the women were afraid to go out because the Soviet soldiers were licentious, and they were eager to get watches off people's wrists, and they also went after the women. So most of the Japanese women still there, if they ventured out, would dress as men. But the story is, and I don't really know, it came from Sonoya, but how accurate I understood it, I don't know. But she went out dressed as a woman and went straight to the headquarters because she knew it. That's where she had worked. And she met General Malenkov, and there was an interpreter there who helped her get permission from the general to open a Japanese tea shop so that the Soviet troops would have a place to go for tea or whatever. And this interpreter was very nice. I don't know what nationality he was, but he helped her. And she did open the Sakura tea shop, which probably served more than tea. Just probably a small restaurant. But that had to close at some point, and then she made sort of a living by delivering milk. And it's not clear to me where she got the milk or how it was she delivered it, but she delivered it to Japanese families living in various sort of tenement-like apartments and houses or wherever they could live.
Because the Japanese
and
were...
her friend Yukiko, whose last name I forget now, helped her do this. And it was that explains what she did up to the point where I met her. And I met her there. We used to have dances. I think they were sometimes sponsored by the Chinese army, sometimes by, I don't know, but I met her at a dance, and she looked so dignified. There was something about her manner that attracted, so I cut in and danced with her, and we became friends after that.
So the story about her working as a dancer in a dance hall where you met her is not accurate. This was a...
Well, I don't really know whether this was a dance hall in a commercial sense or whether the night I met her it was a sponsored dance, but anyway, it was a dance.
Mm-hmm.
And
now,
and then we had some dates after that.
Now you have some photographs of your first date with her in which you, and correct me where I'm wrong here, that you had actually traded some desperate, now I understand that the mission, and you could correct the second part as well, but your mission was to oversee the repatriation of Japanese back to Japan, and that the American part of the Strategic Services Unit was part of UN mandate or UN force in that sense, and that now you had acquired a number of women's kimono from Japanese who were desperate to have some kind of currency, and that you had...
they had, it was a fairly regular thing for the Japanese to set up little street bazaars or things like that. And I bought a number of kimono from one family, and it turned out that I met the family later in Tokyo. But anyway, I had one or more of these kimono. So one time, Sonoya came over to our house where several of us were living, and she put on the kimono, and then I took some pictures of her in kimono. And we didn't have what do you call the ribbon that holds the
Obi? Yes.
Anyway, it indicates obi ribbon
Mm-hmm.
or obi sash.
Yes.
It's a sash. So the obi itself is a sash, but then it's held in place by a thin belt-like ribbon.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't have one of those, and I didn't have one of those, so we used one of my neckties.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a photograph in color, which is very good
Mm-hmm.
photograph.
Now, there was another story you told of how you had acquired a German Leica camera, and it came with a German Shepherd from some German
Yeah,
who was
right.
very eager to get his cash
Right.
strapped, and so it was kind of a was it an area with a lot of kind of, what would I call them, refugees in that sense, or?
Well, yeah, among the Japanese were other nationalities. I mean, before the war in Japan, we were talking the other day about Hungarians and Austrians and so on, Germans, and quite a variety of, in Tokyo at least, in Kobe and Yokohama, a variety of nationalities that lived there. Some had lived for quite a long while.
Mm-hmm.
I guess this was, I don't know, was it actually German, Japanese, or what it was, but
Mm-hmm.
that some of these people had gone over to Manchuria in one way or another, maybe officially, maybe just for traders. They might have been, you could be a fur trader or agricultural trader or something. But somebody sold me a Leica camera and a German Shepherd.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
I
the,
can't remember who finally took over the German Shepherd, but he was around the house for quite a while.
how did you, I think you had gone over already how you had met Mr. Takasaki, because he was obviously the leader of the Japanese group who you were. Now, you weren't in charge of the repatriation
I
itself
wasn't
as
in
much
charge of anything. I was there just observing, among other things, the repatriation, how they got on the freight trains, and then we went to the remains of various factories, particularly hydroelectric generators. We observed the extent to which they were back in operation.
Mm-hmm.
And an American named Paulie had been there some months before I got there and made a more or less complete survey of what the Soviets had taken.
Mm-hmm.
It's called the Paulie Mission.
Mm-hmm.
But we sort of followed up on that.
Mm-hmm. So your reports would be maybe once a week or something?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And now, what terminated that assignment? What you just did the allotted
Well, as
time?
far as I'm concerned, catching amoebic dysentery is what terminated it.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up in a Navy hospital ship in Qingdao, in the Qingdao port, and back down in Shandong province, which is north of Shanghai.
So that's like a case of diarrhea that just doesn't end? Is that what that?
No, this was, well, amoebic dysentery is like that.
Mm-hmm.
But